All right, so today we are talking lamb, onion, carrot, and potato stew. Look at that. That is bone-in lamb stew meat, grass-fed. You can get it at Albertsons.
So we're going to start by making the breading for the lamb. This will help it brown in the pan, and also the flour will help thicken the stew as it cooks. Take 2 or 3 cups of the flour. We're going to add some onion powder there. Get about a tablespoon of each of these things here. Next up is garlic powder. You can add more or less of this depending on how much you like garlic. I love garlic.
All of this is seasoned to taste. Just gentle suggestions.
You got some paprika here. You can also use black pepper or white pepper, whichever you prefer.
Paprika or paprika?
Tomato.
Yeah.
Lots of salt. You can also salt the meat directly, but I prefer not to when I'm making a stew because if it cooks down and there's too much salt, it will be extremely salty.
Way too salty.
So you want to mix that up real well.
And so what is the benefit of breading the meat?
So there's something called the Maillard reaction where the carbohydrates and the proteins react together in the heat and it makes it brown better.
Okay.
Which gives you a lot more flavor.
See, I would have never thought to bread the meat. So that's good to know. You're the expert here.
Yeah, I hope so.
You've been doing this a long time. So what we didn't show you there was that we rinsed that meat off. I use filtered water. So please do that. Rinse your meat with some filtered water. Reverse osmosis. No fluoride. Save your brain.
We also already peeled the potato, but we figured you guys know how to do that. So you want to make sure that these are fully coated on all sides and then shake off the excess flour. Any excess flour might end up getting burned in the pan.
That is good to know. Shake it off, okay?
So once we get all this breaded up, we're going to set it aside. And then we have a cast iron Dutch oven, but you can use any large pan that'll fit this stuff. I set that heat to medium. The iron tends to retain heat, so it'll stay hotter longer, but you might need to adjust the heat based on what pan you're using.
Yeah, that's an expensive pan right there.
We're using duck fat. You can use any oil or fat with a high smoke point. Duck fat's smoke point's about 375. That's the point at which it starts to smoke. You don't want it to smoke.
We're dealing with a professional, ladies and gentlemen. No smoke points and stuff.
So now we're going to cut up our potato. Any of the vegetables you want to do in large chunks because they're going to be cooking this stew for a while and you don't want to break them down too much. The potato you can store in water until you're ready to put it in so it doesn't brown.
Potato. Oh, the potato.
Same thing with the onion, you just want to cut it into big chunks. You can use any kind of other root vegetables or other vegetables you want to add in here. The longer they take to cook, the sooner you want to put them in. We're going to start with the onions. The onions are going to cook down to almost nothing because they're going to cook for the entire time of the stew. Everything else we'll add later.
Hear that? We're cooking it way down. Hear that, carnivores? Shouldn't hear anything from you. I freaking love onion.
Alright, so now that our duck fat is hot.
That is what that little dot of flour is. That was the tester dollop of flour. Make sure the oil is hot enough. The fat, sorry, duck fat is hot enough.
Alright, as you load these, you want to make sure you keep them spaced out so they have plenty of room to breathe. Otherwise, you'll end up just steaming the meat and it won't brown properly. So we're going to have to do a couple of rounds to get all of our meat brown. Big key is you want to wait for it to brown. Don't get too excited and turn it too quick. Leave it for a couple minutes on each side to make sure you get a good browning on each side.
So we did speed it up here. Look at that.
So you want to get some good color. Don't leave it too long again because that flour will start burning and that will not add to the flavor of your stew for sure.
One great thing about this is that you really don't use too many dishes.
Alright, so those are nice and brown. We'll pull those out and brown the other ones. The stuff in the bottom is called your fond. That is going to give you a lot of flavor, so you want to leave that in there. Once we brown these other ones, we'll add the onions and we'll scrape all that stuff off the bottom of the pot.
You really can't go wrong with duck fat. Absolute best.
Alright, there's that beautiful fond. In with our onions. So you want to get a little bit of color on these. They're going to brown faster than the meat is, so you want to watch your temperature on there. Again, that iron's going to retain more heat than another pan would.
So are you kind of scraping the bits up?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
To get it onto the onion? Awesome.
So we're going to reduce our heat some, then we get a little bit of color on the onions. And then we will load all of our lamb back in once we get that stirred up.
I just want to eat that right now. I love fried foods. I will always love fried foods. I'm a Texan.
Alright, next up we're going to go ahead and add some beef stock to this. Again, we're using unsalted to make sure we don't get too salty of an end product. We can season at the end if it needs more salt, but once it's cooked you can't take the salt out. But there are some people who say you can put a potato in there and make it taste less salty. It's just going to give you more potatoes with the same amount of salt. So I'm adding some fresh garlic now. It's about 2 tablespoons. Again, you can use more or less. You could have sauteed this with onions, but I like a really strong garlic taste. And then a little bit of Worcestershire.
Forgive that bottle. You know, we'll get some more Worcestershire. Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
So I put about 8 ounces in there. You can add more or less. You can use soy if you don't like Worcestershire. It just adds a little bit more of that deeper kind of meaty flavor to it. Next, we're going to skim the fat off the top, but we do not want to get rid of that. There is flavor and thickening power on that. So we'll skim the fat off, and then we'll take the remainder of our seasoned flour that we used earlier, and we'll mix it together. It's kind of like the same kind as a roux that we use to thicken, say, a gumbo.
Roux. That's sort of that's what? Flour, butter?
Flour and any kind of fat, yeah.
Any kind of fat.
So we're going to take that duck fat. There's a little bit of the broth in there too, but that's okay. And we'll take our seasoned flour. Just add a little bit of thyme.
This is the flour that we used earlier to bread the lamb. We just put in the bag for you.
So you want to mix that up. But you don't want it too thick. You don't want it too clumpy. You want it so it'll blend into the broth easily without leaving lumps.
And it's just to thicken it up.
Yeah, with thickening and also your seasonings to add more flavor to it.
Perfect.
So that's about the consistency we want. And we'll just mix that in. And the meat's already been simmering for about half an hour. Depending on the size of your piece of meat, the time to cook is going to vary, but any kind of stew meat's going to take an hour or 2 to cook at least. So we simmer that a little bit more. You can see it kind of thickened up. We're adding our potatoes and our carrots here.
Organic again.
Mm-hmm. So your root vegetables or any other vegetables, you want to add them towards the end of cooking with enough time for them to cook. So it's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes for those to cook. And then we just wait.
Alright, here we go. Let's try it. So good. So hearty. Reminds me of being a wee lass in Ireland. Good. It's very good.